If your team only follows you because of the title that you have, you're not leading, you're simply managing compliance. Real leadership shows up when people follow you even when they don't have to, when they trust you, not because they're told to, but because they choose to. And that trust, that's not built by you barking orders or swinging rank around or demanding perfection. It's built through presence, through consistency, and humility. Some of the very strongest leaders that I've ever worked with, they were also the quietest. They didn't lead from the spotlight, and they led by serving others. In this episode, we're diving deep into what real servant leadership looks like, why humility isn't a weakness, but a superpower, and how the very best leaders build lasting influence by putting other people first. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Hi, and welcome to the Everyday Diplomat. I'm Michael Forrest, a retired Marine Sergeant Major, former U.S. diplomat, and someone who spent the better part of 20 years leading high-performing teams through crisis, conflict, and constant change. And I'm going to tell you, across all those years, all those teams, and all those challenges, one truth kept on showing up. The leaders who earned the deepest of trust, the ones who created the most resilient teams, they were not the loudest. They were the ones who led through humility and through service. Now, I want to get one thing clear right off the bat. What we mean by servant leadership, it's not about you being passive. It's not about letting people walk all over you. Servant leadership is about shifting the mindset from being in charge to taking care of the people in your charge. That means putting your people first without sacrificing the mission. It means earning influence, not demanding others' obedience. And it's not some modern fad. It's completely timeless. From ancient philosophy to military leadership to the most successful businesses we see today, the leaders who stand the test of time are the ones who lead with presence, purpose, and humility. But here's the catch. Servant leadership doesn't always get celebrated. It doesn't come with trophies, and a lot of the impact that you make is going to go unseen. But that's the point. It's not about you. It's about them. And when you embrace that shift, something powerful begins to happen. Your team doesn't just comply. They really start to commit. They don't just follow you. They buy in. That's what we're after here. Influence that really lasts. Trust that runs deep, and a legacy that's built on service and not ego. In the Marine Corps, there are a few promotions that make a real shift, not just in pay, but in responsibility, identity, and in influence. And the first major transformation happens when you become a corporal of Marines. You see, corporal, it's our first non-commissioned officer rank. It's the pay grade of E4, and it carries a weight far beyond what most people realize. From the outside, it might not look like a big deal, but for us, it's a moment of earned distinction. It's the first time that a Marine gets to wear the scarlet blood stripe on their dress blue trousers. It's a nod to the legacy of those who gave their lives at the Battle of Chapultepec. It's the first time that the Eagle Globe and Anchor sits proudly on a Marine's gold belt buckle, front and center on our dress blue uniform. And in an organization that's built on uniformity, those small details matter. We don't add things to the uniform unless they've been earned. And when they're earned, they're honored and cherished. But the real shift happens off the uniform, because when you become a corporal, the mission completely changes. I used to tell my lance corporals to enjoy this rank because it's the last stop where your focus is still on you and perfecting your own skills and mastering your job and then growing your own personal capabilities. But to every new corporal, I gave a completely different message. From this very point forward, your purpose in this organization is forever going to be to care for your Marines. Your success is no longer about you. It's about what you build in others. That's not abstract. It's completely literal. In the Marine Corps, corporals are typically fire team leaders. They're responsible for 3 other Marines, but in practice, seasoned corporals step up to serve as squad leaders when needed. Sergeants usually take on that role, leading squads of up to 13 Marines, and then you have staff sergeants that typically serve as platoon sergeants guiding 40 to 50 Marines. But every leader in that chain is expected to know the role above theirs, to step up when called. And that expectation really begins as a corporal. You lead people, you train them, you mentor them, you look out for them, and you even hold their lives in your hands. That's why servant leadership isn't just a buzzword for us. It's embedded in the job. And it's one of the most difficult transitions to make because it really requires letting go of oneself and embracing service. The very best leaders that I ever saw at that level, they weren't chasing accolades. They were building excellence around them. They were taking care of their Marines, and they were laying the foundation for everything that followed at every level of leadership. That's servant leadership in its purest form. The moment that you stop being the mission and start building people who can carry it forward. The further I went in my career, the more I began to realize that real influence doesn't come from volume, it comes from humility. And I don't mean the false modesty or the playing small type. I mean the kind of grounded leadership where you don't need to be the smartest person in the room because you've built a room full of people that you can trust. That's what makes people want to lean in, and it's what earns commitment. You see, when I stepped into senior leadership roles, I was never afraid to tell other people that I don't know. And the reason that mattered is because I usually did know. I didn't get to be a sergeant major in the Marine Corps by not knowing what's going on, but in those rare moments where I didn't, I was brutally honest about it. And every time I did, my Marines respected me for it because they didn't need me to pretend. They needed me to be honest and to be real. Way too many times, leaders believe that admitting uncertainty somehow makes them look weak, but faking certainty erodes trust far faster than admitting a gap ever will. You see, your team isn't looking for perfection. They're looking for your presence. They want to know that you're in it with them, that you're going to be honest, especially when the stakes are high. And that level of authenticity, that type of humility, it creates something far more powerful than compliance. It creates buy-in. Because when you're real with your team, they're going to be real with you in exchange. And when you create that type of environment, it becomes easier to spot problems earlier, to make better decisions, and to build loyalty that can't be faked. The most respected leaders that I've ever had the privilege to work with, they weren't the ones who talked the most. They were the ones who listened, who reflected, and then acted with consistency. You see, humility is not the opposite of strength. It's the very foundation of it. And it's something that we build deliberately starting from day one. That's exactly why I created the First 30 Days, an online leadership course for leaders who want to get this right from the very start. If you've just been promoted or you're stepping into a new leadership role, those first 30 days can absolutely define everything that comes next for you. This course is going to give you the mindset, the tools, and daily leadership rhythm to earn respect early and to avoid costly missteps and then lead with presence instead of pressure. And in honor of the name, the First 30 Days has a special launch price for the first 30 days. You can get that by using the coupon code that should be popping up on the screen right about there. After that, it's going to go back to full price. So if you're ready to lead with clarity, now's the time. Go ahead and click the link in the description below or visit everydaydiplomat.com and get started. Now, let's go ahead and talk about how servant leadership works at scale, because it's one thing to serve one person well, but it's something entirely different to build a culture, a team, or even a business that serves others, whether you're in the room or not. One of my favorite examples of this comes from the business world. It's a company that, judging by how many boxes show up in my house for my wife each day, must be doing really well. Amazon. We all know the company today as this global powerhouse, but what most people forget or never even knew is that Amazon didn't turn a profit for nearly 10 years. The reason they didn't turn a profit for that long wasn't because their model wasn't working. It was because they weren't chasing the quick wins. They were building trust for the long game. They invested in service. They built the infrastructure to deliver fast, reliability, and consistently every time. And here's my favorite part. In high-level meetings, Jeff Bezos famously left an empty chair in the boardroom to represent us, the customer. That chair was always visible, a silent and constant reminder. Don't forget who you serve. Don't forget who this decision impacts. That's servant leadership, not as a buzzword, but as a practice. And the same principle applies to us as leaders. I've seen brilliant people step into leadership roles with sharp minds and high energy, but they completely failed to scale their impact because they kept on trying to be the hero. They hoarded decisions, they micromanaged, and their teams never grew. On the flip side, I've watched quiet, grounded leaders build organizations that accelerated even after they moved on because they poured into people, they developed systems, they made themselves less needed over time so the team could carry on. That's the essence of servant leadership at scale. It's not just how do you lead this group well, it's how do I make them strong enough to then go ahead and lead others. And here's the uncomfortable truth for some. Your job isn't to be irreplaceable. Your job is to prepare other people so well that when one day you step out, the mission keeps on winning. That's what builds legacy, and that's what multiplies trust. And that's how servant leadership becomes something far greater than just a leadership style. It becomes the culture that you leave behind. I want to go ahead and close out with something perhaps a little bit more personal, because we often celebrate the boldest, loudest, most visible leaders, the ones who light up a room, who dominate the conversation, who grab the headlines. But in my experience, the leaders who leave the deepest legacy, they're not the loudest. They're certainly the most consistent. I've served with leaders who didn't speak much in meetings. They didn't make a show of being in charge. But when they did speak, everybody stopped, leaned in, and they listened, because their words carried real weight, because their actions backed them up. And that's the type of leadership that we don't talk about enough. Humble, grounded, and steady. It's the type of leadership that creates safety in the room. It says that I'm not here to be impressive, I'm here to be useful to you. Servant leadership isn't about sacrificing your voice or playing small. It's about using your position to amplify others, to build trust, to leave things better than you found them. And when you do that consistently, day after day, even if you're not in the spotlight, you're going to build a leadership presence that sticks with people for the rest of their careers. That's the type of leadership that I try to live. And that's the kind of leadership that I write about in my book, The Everyday Diplomat. It's not a book full of hype or recycled corporate buzzwords. It's grounded in real world experience, what it actually takes to lead through trust, not just authority. I wrote it for leaders just like you, who care more about doing it right than being seen doing it. For leaders who want to earn influence that actually lasts longer than their title. If that sounds like you, I'd love for you to check it out. You can find it, not surprisingly, on Amazon and also at everydaydiplomat.com. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to give you something else that can help you right away. It's a free guide that I put together called 10 Things to Never Say as a Leader. And I want to be completely open. This is not just a list of bad phrases. It's a mindset shift. These are the things that erode trust. They kill morale, and they quietly signal to your team that you're not listening, or even worse, that you don't care altogether. I've seen the very best of leaders lose influence simply because they didn't realize how their words were landing. And I've seen struggling leaders completely turn it around once they became intentional about how they chose to show up and what they chose to say. This guide is going to give you the language to avoid and also the mindset to replace it with. And the best part, it's completely free. Just head to everydaydiplomat.com and you can download it right now. That's 10 things to never say as a leader, because sometimes the words that you don't say matters just as much as the ones that you choose to. Of all the things that we talked about today, here's what I hope that you take away. Servant leadership isn't soft, it's not passive, and it's definitely not about you being liked. It's about you building people, about leading with presence, not pressure. And it's about leaving a legacy that lasts long after your nameplate comes off of that door. Humility doesn't weaken your authority, it strengthens your impact. And when you lead with trust, consistency, and service, people follow you because they want to and not because they have to. If you feel like we've earned a like and subscribe today, we would be absolutely honored, because we're here to build better leaders, not just views. Please go ahead and drop a comment below and let us know who's the best servant leader that you've ever worked with, or how are you choosing to lead with humility and influence today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.